Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
Of course, I left my reading glasses, my usual reading glasses at home today, so I have to wear my special reading glasses that my wife was so very excited that I'm wearing for her. Here we go. Our scripture lesson today is from Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 2, verse 3. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. While the wind from God swept over the face of the waters, then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day.
And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. And it was so. God called the dome sky, and there was evening and there was morning, the second day.
And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let there be dry land, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day.
And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves of every kind, with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day.
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth."
So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food.
And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the seventh day God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation.
Here ends the reading. Thanks be to God.
As
Jesse and I, as the staff of Union Con, will be competing at the MFEE Amazing Fundraiser this afternoon under the title of Team Union. And yet you may have noticed the yellow t-shirt that Walter Sweat is wearing this morning. He is also competing, and not for Team Union. And I feel like I may be plunged into existential crisis this afternoon when I am competing against a member of the church while representing Team Union. What does this mean? What, pardon?
We're competing together.
We're competing together. I hope this leads to both an alliance and domination of all other teams. So, in the beginning, on the first day of creation, an extraordinary process and revelation unfolds that describes God joining in unity with the physical universe. As the Spirit sweeps across the void, God becomes light inside everything. The Gospel of John says that in the beginning was the Word. That in the beginning, as everything was spoken into being, it was being given the light of God. Light came first so that everything visible without exception could be the outpouring of God's love and life. Is it not one of life's great wonders, too, to be able to look under a microscope and see what you can't see? To notice the extraordinary detail that binds everything together? Is it not one of life's great wonders to strap on a pair of goggles or a snorkeling mask and to realize that there isn't just a whole world under the surface that you are missing on a regular basis, but that it constitutes the majority of the planet? And we now know that even in those darkest, deepest depths of the sea, there is still light, there is still something, there is still actually light, because what appears to be darkness is merely dark to the human eye. Everything, everywhere, contains tiny particles traveling close to the speed of light, 99% of the speed of light. Neutrinos here, there, and everywhere. Just because something appears to have the absence of light, to be completely dark, does not make that thing without light. Formed fractions of a second after the Big Bang, countless particles were flung into the universe at once, seemingly randomly, and also here you are. Of course, we have to be careful with this admixture of modern scientific explanation for how things are and how you came to be, and the theological affirmation that exists in Genesis 1, in the beginning. In the beginning is not a scientific treatise. It does not explain things in our, what we like to think of as rational way of explaining things. The text is so familiar and also so cliched at this point that it's easy to miss the astonishing intellectual and artistic moves and the passion that informs those moves. The text, while influenced by the creation stories of other cultures and faiths, probably emerged during the Babylonian exile. It tells a story of how God in the Israelite consciousness is different from the way that the Babylonians were trying to tell the story of the origins of the universe. The Babylonians were in the midst of doing their own, we are the greatest country that ever existed, no one can ever touch us, we are by far the greatest civilization that has ever appeared. And by the way, Israel, your God is terrible, weak, pathetic. Look at you. Here in another land, exiled from your home. What has your God done for you? And that's what's extraordinary about this narrative. Instead of playing that same game, your God stinks and mine is awesome and here's why, there is a completely different emphasis. Not on what the future holds, nor is it a my God is better than yours, but it is a liturgical poem to be used in services among people in exile that affirms that God and creation are bound together in distinctive and delicate ways. It is from this deep story that good news has the capacity to emerge, because then, when all people and all of creation are a part of the story, cycles of conflict and violence have the capacity to be terminated. That life can be viewed anew because the narrative of God being bound up in all creation in a delicate balance avoids tribalism and nationalism and patriotism. Gone for now, at least in the biblical text, is the "my God is better than yours." God is the God of all creation and all people and all light and all that is worth savoring. This truth can't be fully explained, only affirmed. This truth will set you free, though, that in the beginning there was light, and that light is in everything, and it is everywhere. The text doesn't worry so much about the method of the creation, although one is described, but is foremost interested in intent. What is this? What is this about? Where is this going? What's in front of us? What is life and the purpose of life? How are we bound to the divine? And the overwhelming answer in the text is not that God is a micromanager or a cruel overseer, nor is the world merely reduced to chaos, but that a reality has been identified in the text, that this is a world that surges with the mystery of God speaking things into being, and that as a result, life has the capacity to be full of gratitude and joyous response for all of life and for all of being and for all that is good here in front of us, around us, and within us, because God's light is everywhere. Note how blessing appears over and over, and God saw that it was good. The whole thing is good, and then at the very end, it was very good. The text asserts that the whole creation is teeming with goodness. Even in the midst of what seems to be both chaotic and beautiful, the text affirms that all of life is one that can be encapsulated in joyful response, in undying gratitude for all that has been spoken into being. And how does this response make itself manifest in your daily life, in my daily life? Joyful response? Undying gratitude? Do you have a life that appears to readily reflect that the world surges with the mystery of God speaking things into being? The Bible will take many things that are seemingly basic, profound, but also basic: light, air, water, bread, and use these over and over and over. Jesus tells us to pray for our daily bread. The prayer not just for my daily bread, but for our daily bread, for my own bread and my family's bread and the daily bread for all people in the creation. And so you would think when I break bread, when I eat a meal, that someone who at least claims to have an ounce of spirituality would offer a response of joy, undying gratitude, and recognize a time to understand that the world surges with the mystery of God speaking things into being. And how often instead do I receive my daily bread by a process determining a couple of things? How long will it take to make? And how long will it take to eat? Maybe the weekends are a little different in your house. But much of the week, my children eat meals that consist of parents encouraging children to get it done. Get it done before school. You can't go to school on an empty stomach. You can't be late for homeroom or the bus or car line. And make sure you get through. Don't enjoy it. Don't savor it. Don't experience the sweetness, but consume it. Get it down so you don't get gangrene. It would reflect very badly on me if you got gangrene. Lunch at Buzz Aldrin Middle School is 40 minutes. 20 minutes to eat, 20 minutes to play. 20 minutes to eat, 20 minutes to eat, and then go play. Dinner between soccer and dance and parent meetings and so on. How long will it take to make? And how long will it take to eat? Broccoli's quick to make, but it's slow to eat. What do we eat? I know how often I participate in this cycle just as readily as anyone else. I eat quickly all the time and gently encourage my own children not to savor every bite, but to get it done. And then occasionally I remember to reverse course. Occasionally I want to savor what's right in front of me. but it's so foreign. In Quebec this summer, my family and I stayed in a nice little condo, and they had an electric raclette maker in the condo. Have any of you used a raclette maker? Yes. There's a little trays that you put cheese on, and you cook the cheese, and while the cheese melts, there's a little grill on top for meat or vegetables or whatever else you want to go with the cheese. And you gather around and you cook it all together basically at the same time after someone has prepped all the ingredients. But you can only eat a little bit at a time. It's just your little tray and your few things that are on top of the grill. And I realized I had no idea when I was supposed to be done. Because you're eating so slowly, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, that this whole concept is so foreign to me that I didn't know if I was still hungry after 40 minutes or not. What should I do? I guess I'll eat more and see how it goes. I eat so fast that I have no idea how to genuinely savor God's goodness. And so, to regain our sense of awe, to help we generate our spirits, to learn to savor each bite, to sense that surge of mystery in creation, to regain a sense of undying gratitude, to regain our joyous response to the fact that God saw that all was very good. Plenty of us, we go somewhere else. We vacate our homes and we go somewhere else. The mountain views of the Rockies, the beaches, on the coastline, the sunsets in the desert, they're all awesome and worth seeing, of course. The question, though, for me in September is not whether we'll teach our children or ourselves to be in awe 2 weeks a year, but how to continue that sense of awe the other 50. Can it be as simple as beginning with your food, noticing light, savoring everything that is basic and essential and good, and joining together with others in joyous response in undying gratitude for this mystery of God's presence surging through everything that is present to us. Savor light. Yeah, savor food, of course. To end where I began with the children savoring everything that is in front of us, we must also savor the gifts of people. God speaks many things into being according to the text, and God also speaks in this mystery of capacity for joyous response and service to others. And some of you have, by now, in your lives noted that some of the keys to longevity and happiness may be many, but one of them may well be taking the time to volunteer simply to help other people, to savor the moment with another, and to share our gifts freely. And in so doing, a sense of awe, a sense of joy can sometimes ensue. And so for that reason, in this moment, even as we talk about the creation of the universe, we must distill it down to the things that are right in front of us: food and light. And also the sense of joy that so many have experienced with programs and themes and associations that happen right here, right now. And so for that reason, in this moment, I would like to invite Cindy Stavitsky to please come to the chancel and join me here. Rob, I'm going to switch to my other microphone, please. Thank you. So, I know you were expecting this right in this moment. Many years ago, Union joined with other congregations and organizations to help develop an after-school tutoring program that was originally called STEAM. And as the program evolved, a number of the participating organizations fell away. And we rebranded here at Union Tong as the SMART program, which is a partnership with the Sussex Avenue Renew School. A group of children come to Union by bus on Thursdays for tutoring and cultural enrichment. As a volunteer
Cindy has led this program for years, dedicating herself to many both profound and also basic, but the basic is the profound things like scheduling buses and making sure they show up when they are supposed to, managing tutors, and ensuring that a group of people gather here every Thursday afternoon to greet students. But more than anything, Cindy has inspired dozens of elementary school children to engage their creativity, intellectual capacity, and to experience joy on Thursday afternoons. As the principal of the Sussex Avenue Renew School, Darlene Gearhart writes, she sends regrets for being unable to attend this morning, but wanted you to know that the SMART program has given children from one of the hardest neighborhoods in Newark the opportunity to grow, learn, and be supported by many volunteers. The one-to-one adult-child ratio has given my kids a chance of feeling special, a chance of an adult paying attention to them and helping them with their homework, a chance to teach them how to cook, and a chance of visiting nice places while also feeling loved. Given the amount of busyness that people have in their life with jobs and their own families, I can't imagine how hard it has been to always search for volunteers to ensure that each child had their own mentor. Cindy, you have served children, and we are all better for it. Thank you for all that you have done for the children of the Sussex Avenue Renew School. We love you. Of course, the reason that I have invited Cindy forward at this time is because she has decided to step aside as the director of the program in this moment. But we have a future, and it's a future that we are celebrating, and it's a future that Cindy is also a part of. I would, at this time, like to invite any tutors, mentors, or tutors that have served in previous years in the SMART or SPEAK program, because Cindy has not done this work alone. She's never been alone in this, and has always done this work in community. Are there any other tutors that would care to join Cindy in the chancel in this moment? come, no pressure. I didn't. Would you like to make a pitch? By all means, thank you so much.
Good morning, my name is Ann Muncy, so I'm going to be the director of the SMART program. And I already have a connection with Sussex Avenue School. I'm a yoga instructor and I work for a nonprofit called Newark Yoga Movement. And we go into Newark schools, charter and public schools, and give yoga classes during the school day as part of their curriculum. And Sussex Avenue Review School is one of the main supporters of our program. And I've worked with these second graders that are now will be joining our SMART program, and they're a wonderful group of children. We will have 15 to 18 children coming, so there's a nice connection between myself and Union and Sussex Avenue School. So we're looking for volunteers for tutoring as well as providing snacks or even coming and sharing what you do